In Skill Builder number 2, you will learn to use the Spline Tool to make a curved shape. You will learn to create a 3D shape using the Revolve Tool. You will learn to define an offset plane, and you will learn to use the Circular Pattern Tool to repeat extruded additions to a part. Let's begin with a sketch. Select the front plane to make your sketch. Now we'll select the Spline Tool. In order to make a curved line, we will left-click and make a series of points that will define that curved line. So think about the silhouette of a vase. Here is one example. So I curve in for a neck and then I curve back out to make a wider body. Be sure to add a point right on that horizontal axis, and you'll see why that's going to be useful for us later. So when you have finished your curve, it's in the shape you like, double click to end it on that last point. Now, to revolve this, we need to have a closed shape. So we'll use the Line tool to close this shape. So start with the first point of the curve and then make a horizontal line to that center axis. Make another point and then go straight down along the axis. Add a point and connect it horizontally. And you'll notice, so my shape did not enclose. And if it does, this interior will turn gray. The best thing I found when this happens is to start your sketch over. So again, on the front plane, select the Spline tool, make a series of points. Again, be sure to add a point right on that horizontal axis. There we are. Now switch to the Line tool to make the enclosed shape. And see how it turns gray on the inside, so you have an enclosed shape. So a couple things we want to do. We're going to use a geometric constraint of parallel for the top and bottom lines. After choosing parallel, click the top line and the bottom line, and then you can deselect parallel. Next, we want to define the distance between this point and this point. So choose the Dimension tool, select this point, and select the origin, and round it to a nice even number to remember. I will call that 50. And save the sketch. The next step is to use the Revolve tool. So here is the Revolve tool, so select that. And then here in the box, it's best in these dialog boxes to always start at the top and make your selections starting at the top row and then the next, the next, and the next. Okay, so we're making a solid part, and it's a new part. Now we select the face or sketch to revolve. So go ahead and select sketch 1, and that appears in that blue box. Now go down to the next line, choose the revolve axis. Let's choose this center edge of the vase. So if I click on that, all right, so if I rotate this a little bit, you can see now how it's kind of a vase shape. So if I chose a different edge of my shape, I can delete that edge. What would happen if I chose this top edge and I did a revolve around there? All right, see how you get kind of this hubcap looking shape? Okay, but that's not what we want. We want the vase shape. Okay, so I'll select that edge. And notice there are options down here of revolve type. Instead of full, you could choose one direction for 30 degrees. And that gives you about that much of the full revolve. Of your 360 degrees, what if we said 90 degrees? And that's a quarter of the circle. So you can choose that. So feel free to experiment with those options. But for now, for the vase, I'm going to choose full. The next step is to hollow out our vase. So click the shell tool, and we're going to hollow it out from the top. So select that top face, and that looks good, and you can decide how thick you want the walls of your vase. I'm going to choose 4 millimeters. The next thing I'd like to do is add some embellishments around this wide part of the vase. So I need to define an offset plane that is right there at that edge. So here's the tool that allows us to do that. So select plane, and we are going to offset it from the front plane. And the offset distance is going to be that 50 millimeters. Oops, not 500. 50 millimeters that we defined as that edge along this axis. Okay, so you can see how that plane just touches that part of the vase. So now that we've defined our plane, we can make a sketch right on that plane. So let me spin this so I can select plane 1 and view normal to sketch plane. And I would like to add a little diamond shape that's going to repeat all the way around the vase. So I'm going to choose the line tool. You can choose any shape you want. It could be a circle, an ellipse, it could be a triangle, square. I happen to choose a diamond shape. Now I want all of these side lengths of my diamond to be equal, so I'm going to choose equal and then select ones to be equal. There we go. So I have a nice diamond shape that I can extrude. So close that sketch. Now I'll select extrude to get the diamond shape to extrude from the surface of that plane. All right, so starting at the top, we want this to be solid. We don't want this as a new part. We want it to add to the vase. And the sketch we want to extrude is sketch 2. So we include that on there because of the curved side. So let's look at this. See the curved side? I am going to make my extrude symmetric so that it's partly in so that it connects to the vase. I don't want it that big. Let's go down. Let's see what 5 millimeters looks like. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. See how I still have that gap in the curved area? So let's try making that 6 millimeters and see how we're doing. Let's see if I zoom in. That looks like it's nice and connected. And what about there? That looks good. All right, so I like 6 millimeters, and it's added to that and symmetric. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Zoom back out. Okay, now I think I'm going to choose to bevel these edges. So I'm going to choose chamfer. You can choose round or however you would like to modify that. So I'm going to zoom in to make sure I am selecting the correct edges. And a 5 millimeter, that's probably too much. Let's make it 1 and see what that looks like. Okay. Now I'm going to select all 4 of those edges of the diamond. There we go. Move it around. Okay. You know what? Maybe I'll change that to a little bit more. How about 1.5? Okay. Yeah. I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now I want to get that shape to go all the way around the vase. Next, we'll use the circular pattern tool to repeat this diamond all the way around that circular circumference of the vase. So right here, that's the linear pattern tool, but we want, if you notice, there's an arrow right next to it, and you can get different types of patterns. So we will choose the circular pattern. Okay, and we're going to start from the top is our pattern type. We are not going to be repeating if we had multiple parts that we were going to add around here. We're going to be repeating a feature from our feature list. In fact, we're going to repeat 2 features. We're going to repeat this extrude, and we're going to repeat the chamfer. So we've got those 2 right there. Next thing we need to choose is the axis of the pattern. And we're going to repeat it around the surface of this vase. So we can go ahead and just click on the vase. And that gives us 360 degrees. That means we want to repeat the pattern all the way around. If I just said 180, it would put these 4 repeats just on one side of the vase. But I want the pattern to go all the way around, so I'm going to choose 360. Let's see, what if we chose 8 diamonds? That's pretty good. What if I chose 10? Yeah, I kind of like that number and that spacing. So I am happy with that, so I will go ahead and save that pattern. Let's get this here in the middle, and our vase is now completed. In this skill builder, you have learned to use the Spline tool to make a curved shape. You have learned to create a 3D shape using the Revolve tool. You have learned to define an offset plane, and you have learned to use the Circular Pattern tool to repeat extruded additions to a part.